Thank you very much, everyone, for signing up for this webinar, and welcome. My name is Larissa Copello. I'm the Consumption Production Campaigner at ZWE Europe, and I will be your host for today's conversation on deposit return schemes, commonly known as DRS. Before starting, a few words about ZWE Europe. So we are Brussels-based NGO working with advocacy at EU level, but also at the movement building and coordination, supporting our network of 31 members across 27 countries on their national policy developments, and as well on implementation of zero waste strategies at local level across 400 municipalities. This is the last series of the Zero Waste live webinars before the summer break. The webinars happen once a month from October to June, and we cover topics around various waste-related issues, circular economy, from policy to implementation. So as I said, for today's topic, we're going to discuss about deposit return schemes. And it's impossible to talk about circular economy, zero waste, and reuse without talking about DRS. And it has been proved that such a system is the most effective and sustainable way to make this happen. Just an introduction, what is DRS? So DRS is a system where customers buying a product, they pay an additional amount of money, so the deposit, as a reimbursement for the return of the packaging or for the product to the collecting point. So for instance, here I have this container, which I paid a deposit fee for it. So this is the deposit. The deposit is not here because I haven't given back yet. But yeah, basically you pay the deposit for the packaging and then return and you receive the money back. So this deposit offers an economic incentive for consumers to return their packaging so it can be reused or recycled. It has been used across 40 countries already for beverage containers and with great results. So for this webinar, we have 3 excellent speakers that's going to tell us all about DRS. First is Ana Gutierrez. It's a policy officer from Retorna, organizations based in Spain, which will quick start the webinar explaining us the benefits of the deposit return schemes and some examples of projects being held in Spain. Later, it's going to be Gérard Bellet, founder of Jean Bouteille, which is a French business that has developed zero waste solutions for liquid products in grocery and supermarkets, including deposit return schemes. And the last but not least will be Rob Berman, director of Recycling Network Benelux, which is a Dutch-based environment NGO, which promotes the best consumption and waste systems to reduce material consumption and its negative impacts. Rob will provide us with some insights on the best practice by Dutch municipalities. For the webinar structure, so each speaker will present for 10 minutes, and then after every presentation, we'll have 10 minutes for clarification questions. At the end of this 1 hour of presentations and questions, we will have more 30 minutes for a joint Q&A and discussions with all the speakers. And regarding the tools you can use, we have the chat box where you can introduce yourself. But if you have questions, put there in the Q&A tool, not in the chat, please. So it's better to coordinate. This webinar platform is limited to 100 capacity, we are also streaming it at YouTube. And there is a chat where you can paste questions. Okay, so without further delays, because I'm speaking too much, we're going to start the discussion with Ana Gutierrez. So Ana has a background on waste prevention, resource management, and environment communication. as well as a degree in tourism management and a master's degree in environment strategies and management. Anna will start explaining the benefits of DRS and some examples of projects in Spain. So Anna, the floor is yours. You can start sharing your presentation.
Unmute, and here we are. So, hi to everybody. Thank you very much to Zero Waste for inviting us to participate, and thanks to all the participants for being here. This photograph was taken the first weekend after lockdown. You probably heard that we had a really strict lockdown in Spain, and the first weekend it was eased. One of my colleagues from Barcelona went out for a walk and found this. And we could have put hundreds of similar photographs all over the country. And then we did a search and we found some similar pictures in the UK and in Brussels. So our house is not only burning, it's also flooding. We are flooding it with plastics and all kinds of waste. We have two options. We can continue as we're doing in Spain with a bucket approach, which is continuing with beach cleanups, cleaning our streets, emptying our waste paper baskets everywhere, or we can start to turn the tap off. In Spain, we haven't done this yet. This incredible picture is the Segura River in Alicante. We took this photograph as well in March last year. Thousands of bottles end up here, and when the rain comes, they all flow into our beautiful Mediterranean Sea. But thanks to the great work that our colleagues in Brussels and we're all doing, we finally have European legislation which can really help to change this. And I've just put some examples here of items which will help us to close this tap. Reuse is finally being given priority. We have bans on certain single-use plastic products. We have extended producer responsibility, which will finally make producers pay for the real cost of cleanup, not like up to now, where they only cover a part of what's separately collected. So this will be very important to change the playing field. Then we have the also important 90% separate collection target for plastic bottles. In Spain, we are between 15 and 30% collection, so we have a long way to go. And then also we have the target to incorporate a certain percentage of recycled plastic in the bottles, which cannot be reached if we don't go towards DRS. With the type of collection we're doing now in Spain and in many countries in Europe and elsewhere, we will never reach these objectives. We have a focus on municipalities today. So I've just selected 3 points which are very important for the municipal aspect, which Rob will probably talk about later. 20% of municipal waste in volume are drink containers. It's tremendous, but it's not in weight, it's in volume, because drink containers are normally lightweight, they take up a lot of space, but they don't weigh much. But in municipalities, when we collect, we always collect by volume, when the bins are full, not when they weigh a certain amount. Second, cans and bottles are always amongst the 10 most littered objects. Sometimes it's cigarette butts first, but cans and bottles are always up there. And municipalities are paying for the cleanup costs. And even with the new EPR provisions, it's very difficult, and it won't be anytime soon when 100% of these are covered. So To start closing this tap in Spain, we have been working, and we've also worked with colleagues in Portugal and in other countries to get a deposit return system working. Our proposal is to have soft drinks, juices, beer, and water in the system. And the containers would be cans, multi-layer containers, glass, and PET. Our proposal is 10-cent deposit, but something that's on the table now, excuse me, is whether to have a different amount for refillables and a higher one for single use. And that's a debate that's taking place. Another very important issue for municipalities. DRS is absolutely compatible with any system, whether you have curbside, whether you have bins, or whether you're moving towards a more efficient system like pay as you throw or door to door. DRS will cover what's consumed more out of the house, which are water, bottles, cans of beer, as you saw in the first picture, and any system that you have in place or that will be implemented will be covered with that system. So compatibility is very important. And then we have the savings. Rob will definitely go into this, but the less we clean, the more we save. It's pretty straightforward. Another important stakeholder is the retailer, because what we propose is return to retail. Large chains of supermarkets have been against deposit in Spain, but we have a very important stakeholder working with us, which are the small and medium retailers, for two reasons. One is because traffic to the little shops will probably increase, as it has in countries with deposit for years. As consumers, we very often buy in a big supermarket in bulk, and then we return when we have 6 or 7 cans or bottles. We go to the local supermarket, buy the bread, buy some rice, and establish that lovely relation that we used to have with our local shopkeepers. And the second advantage is most DRS systems contemplate a small fee per container returned. So there will be an economic incentive as well. And now I'm going to go into DRS for refillables and for single use. A question to the audience. Does your country still have these lovely refillable containers? In Spain, we don't. But in Germany, over 45% of beverages are still sold in reusable, and they can be refilled up to 50 times, which is makes us feel really envious. So DRS is vital for a successful reuse system. It establishes a level playing field. If you only have refillables for one of the two, the field wouldn't be level, so we wouldn't have the promotion of refillables. In Navarra and in Baleares, we achieved legally binding reuse quotas, which really complements DRS. So in Navarra and Baleares, we will have a DRS for refillables and legally binding quotas. There are other instruments to complement DRS, like economic incentives, fiscal. In Germany, for example, refillable bottles have an 8-cent deposit, and single use goes up to 25. So there's a big difference, which gives an incentive to consumers to choose refillables, sorry. So if we only apply them to refillables, we would have the situation of Spain in the 90s, where refillable quota went down to reach nearly 0 and single use went up. And I did want to show 3 examples of refillables in Spain, and they still are in a DRS system. They have a deposit. The center one is cider. It's a really good, efficient system in the north of Spain, where cider is the favorite drink. But unfortunately, as there is no DRS for single use, retailers are choosing cider in single use, and these traditional bottles, which are here from the 19th century, are starting to disappear in favor of plastic and cans, of course. One other important issue with DRS is people love it. Everywhere where polls have been made, over 90% of people support the system, which is also important for policymakers. And I'm going to finish my presentation with telling you about a pilot project which we carried out in Cadaqués. Cadaqués is famous because it's where our favorite surrealist painter Salvador Dalí used to live, and Picasso and Duchamp had lovely holidays with him. It's a lovely village, but it doesn't have deposit, and it's a very touristy spot, and the beaches, the streets were full of containers. So we set up this pilot project. The results were fabulous. In just 2 months and a half, the containers recovered were multiplied by 5, from 50% before the test to over 75% and 90% in the last week. So local government had a great response. This guy in the center is the mayor, and he was in the news constantly. Even a year after the the pilot project finished, he was still giving conferences. The local stores loved it. This is Olga, the local storekeeper, and she was so happy because all these kids were going to her shop, taking containers back, and she had more traffic in her shop than ever before. The regional government supported the initiative, and people loved the project. So why wasn't it applied? Because when the legislation was ready, a big group of CEOs from retail, big retailers in Spain, fillers, and the Green Dot systems sat in front of the Minister of Environment and said, or you scrap the law, or I don't know what the or included, but only months afterwards, the law was put in a drawer. Luckily, we're in a different situation now. We have all these EU legislation, the Circular Economy Package and Action Plan. We have the Single-Use Plastic Directive, and we have the public support. Public really wants it. So we are seeing more and more countries going towards deposit, like Lithuania, South Wales, and very soon Portugal, Scotland, Turkey, and we hope that very soon in Spain and elsewhere in your countries, we will recover the right that we lost to return our refillable or even our single-use containers to the stores. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Anna, for the great presentation. I wish we have here in Belgium as well the containers we have in Germany. Well, we have for beer bottles at least. It's a beginning. We have a couple of clarification questions here. For instance, when you talked about the costs of cost littering, and there was a question about municipalities are paying, but it would be better saying that taxpayers, like citizens, are paying, right?
Definitely, Larissa, because I mean, the municipalities are paying, but at the end, it's us as neighbors and citizens paying those costs, certainly.
Yeah. Thank you. And there is also another one regarding the APR. What do you see the correlation regarding APR, so extended producer responsibility, and DRS? How do you see the correlation between these two instruments?
Yeah, for example, in the Balearic law, there is a very strict provision that the cost of collecting every single container that's littered will be applied to the producers or to the fillers or to whoever imports that drink. This means the cost for producers can skyrocket. So at the end of the day, we have seen that fillers are thinking that DRS is a much more efficient and cost-effective way to deal with these containers to make sure they are taken back and refilled or recycled. So there's a direct correlation. If we make producers responsible for cleanup costs, they will prefer efficient methods.
Yeah, no, exactly. The DRS, it's like complementary tool for this
Exactly.
APR schemes for that. Exactly. Maybe you can take one last question as well. Regarding like DRS, if DRS are implemented for single use, this would, how to say, harm a bit the refillable DRS for refillables? What do you think?
For us, it's important that the DRS is implemented for single use and for refillables. We really need a level playing field. In Spain, refillables are still very well implemented in the HoReCa sector, hotels, restaurants, and caterings. But because there is no DRS for single use, the quota has decreased 30% in only 6 years, because even restaurants and cafeterias are going towards single use because they just, they have no responsibility. So to protect refillables in HoReCa and to try to get them back in the domestic sector, we really need to get deposit on both single use and refillables. And then we need the other instruments that I was talking about, is compulsory quotas or other fiscal or economic instruments as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think there is no such a one silver bullet, right, to tackle all this environment pollution. I think we need DRS and other complementary tools so we can address the issue.
Can I answer something in the chat, Larissa?
I think, well, I don't think there is oh yeah, there is a question here in the chat, because I'm looking now at the questions in the Q&A box. So yeah, we have one here about the figure you mentioned. So not surprising, but the figure you mentioned concerning the collection rate of plastic bottles in Spain, you said between 15 and 20%. Is the same figure as registered by the APR system EcoAMS? If not, is the figure registered by EcoAMS? And why is there a difference?
Yes, there is a big difference. The 15-20% that I mentioned was given to us by the municipality of Cadaqués, and we have calculated in all our figures, it's between 15 and 30%, and there are differences. We don't completely agree with the 77% recycling rate that some of the green dot systems are giving. It doesn't coincide with the figures that we are calculating from what municipalities and communities give us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. I think for the sake of time, yes, to move forward, but in the end, we will also have more discussions with Anna as well. Yeah. Thank you. So let's move forward for the second speaker, Gérard Bellet, who is the founder of Jean Bouteille. It's a French business that offers alternative for single-use packages since 2013. And the company has developed zero waste solutions for liquid products and groceries and supermarkets, including deposit return schemes. So now here you can have the voice of the business, how an effective DRS system looks like.
Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with you. So I will present you briefly what is Jean Bouteille and how we pursue our goal to find a way to consume a liquid product without generating trash. We try to find a zero waste lifestyle for all liquids products that come in a bottle. So Jean Bouteille in French, it's a play on word. We say I bottle the liquid into the bottle, and in the same time it's an old French name, so it's pretty fun. It doesn't translate that well in other language, so let's call it John Bottle if you want. And we developed so something that is easy implementable into shops that use the principle of the deposit system, but we changed it a bit. We kind of modernized it a bit to fit it to countries like France, where deposit doesn't exist anymore. It's like Spain, we could see before. When deposit disappear from a country, it's very, very hard to implement it again. It's like you have a huge truck with a huge motor, and the motor is very hard to start. You need to put a lot of energy to make it start again. So it's very difficult. So we try to find a way so it's faster and easier. And in fact, it's a system where you combine a refill station, so a shop where you do refill the bottle, and a bottle that is reusable and returnable. The bottle is not returned each and every time. The client buys the bottle the first time, he fill it with the product he wants. When he go to the cash counter, he buys the bottle and the liquid in two different lines. Once he finishes the bottle, he cleans it himself, he reuses it. So refill again with the same or another product. And once he doesn't want anymore, he can give it back. So here we made a system where we wanted that the cost of the logistic of the bottle and the cost of the cleaning of the bottle was on the bottle, and the product just had the cost of the product. So you buy the first time the bottle €2, you use it, and once you want to give it back, the shop gives you back €1. So you lose €1 in the equation, which is transparent, and we explain it because this euro that the consumer loses is used to transport the bottle back to a bottle cleaner to clean it and to put it back in the system. That way, we don't sell bulk liquid too expensive, and we make sure that people clean the bottle themselves if they can, and if they want to give it back, they need to pay the service. So it's not a real deposit system, it's more a buyback option. We sell a bottle with a buyback option. We have VAT on the bottle because we sell the bottle. With a deposit system, you don't have VAT, so you need to have different accountability. Here, you sell the bottle, you put the VAT, and when you give it back, you give it back with the VAT. It's a system that is very easily implementable in shops because we don't ask them to get back a lot of bottles when they are not made for it. And you can buy cheaper the liquid. You can buy some oil, wine, vinegar, soap, shampoo, alcohol, beer, wine, any liquid product. We come with how do you say, Nutella kind of product with mustard, etc. And you can have cheaper product. And because you come back with your bottle and you refill it, you have a very positive ecological achievement. And once you don't want this bottle anymore, you don't have to trash it. You can keep it at your home. And once you organize, you bring back all the bottle that you want to give back. So today, Jean Bouteille is 6 years old. We are 30 employees, and more than 700 shops are equipped with our corners. And we have around 100 different liquid products that we sell, liquid products and bottles and accessories. We have glass bottles from 50, 75, 1 liter. We have plastic bottles for 1 liter, 50 centiliter, and 2 liter for laundry product, for example, it's plastic bottles. And we also have small jar, small pot. I don't know how you say in English anymore. Right. So the idea here is to say we need everyone in the circle to make a zero waste lifestyle. The shopkeeper need to change a bit the way he sell. Shops before were like a mailbox. They say we buy product, we put it on the shelf, the client take it, go to the cash counter, and that is very linear, and that does make trash. So we ask the shop to become a bottler. So he come into a bit of complexity because he need to maybe buy an equipment or do it by simple gravity. He need to understand that he change a bit of his work. He will become a small bottler, but it allows him to tell to his client, look, I do something for you. What you need to do is to bring back this bottle. And so everybody is doing his share. The consumer get back the bottle to the shop, reuse it, clean it himself. So he does part of the job. The shop do part of the job because he propose a solution that is different than the single-use bottle. And we try to help them, both consumer and shops, to have the best offer, the simplest for the shop, the simplest for the consumer, and with the best price advantages, because we are on products that really people are looking for products that are in their large consumption. They will not buy very expensive product this way. They will buy their everyday product, their mass consumption product. So we are on standard olive oil, we're on standard canola oil, we're on standard laundry product, we're on standard soap product. All the products are organic. All the products come with certification, organic certification or ecological certification, but they are kind of standard product. We are not in luxury. We are not in specific brands, products, etc. We are very in generic products. This system is pretty efficient because we succeed to offer price advantages very easily. We succeed to restrain the main problem of the deposit system. It's the logistic. You need huge amount of bottle to make it efficient. You need to have full truck of dirty bottle to send it to a big washing up bottle, the big cleaning bottle plant, to make it cost effective, because the cost of the washing of the bottle should cost only a few cents. Like if you have a big machine, it costs you 2 cents, just the cleaning of the bottles. If you do it in very short batch, it costs you 10, 15, 20 cents. Then if you have the logistic, it costs you again 35, 40 cents per bottle. And then you have all the different disorganization. And at the end, it costs you €1. That's how we came to €1, kind of. So we succeed to clean in a small batches. We clean 5,000 bottles per 5,000 bottles. We used to have a bottle washer that was in Brittany, but it didn't succeed to maintain its business, unfortunately. So right now we are looking at new solutions to make it again deployable on the different territory. But here we have a system where we can clean bottle in a small quantity, because the bottle is reused a lot of time before going to the bottle cleaner. And we know that we can spend €1 on it. Also, we are pretty competitive on the glass bottle because product like olive oil, like wine, like vinegar come a lot with glass bottle, and it's some product that deposit doesn't exist. Even in Germany, even in Netherlands, even in Sweden, you don't have deposit on oil bottles. You have deposit on drinks. As you said, Anna, before. Most of the deposit come with beer, wine, juice, water, which is most of the product most of the container come from those products. But you have a lot of other bottle with wine, with vinegar and oil that come with glass bottle that are trashed even in deposit, like even in countries where you have a DRS. So here we come with pretty good price efficiency. We don't buy still a lot of product, but once we will buy much more products, we will be even more efficient. And I think we can really succeed to show the client that it's only the consumer, that it's only his willingness to do something for their waste lifestyle that he has to achieve. It's not easy, because when you go out of your job and you go directly to the grocery shop, you don't necessarily have the bottle. So we need to ease these things, but it's definitely achievable. And what we feel is more and more local authorities try to find ways to implement system in their authorities. And we saw in France a large creation of a small project who wanted to become a bottle washer. We have today three startups in France that do wash bottles. We try to work with them, and we have every week some ideas coming out. I want to do a bottle washer here. How should I do, etc. So we even have a network in France called Réseau Consigne, so a deposit network for France, where we try to help all the new projects to create small bottle washers so we can easily wash them, and so all these systems become more habits. And today I think we are the main company who do bulk and deposit system. We are the only one who do bulk and deposit system, but we have now several other companies. I have some, let's say, competitors, but I like to call them colleagues because we together fight the single-use bottle. We have several companies that are getting created because they saw that Jean Bouteille works pretty well, and so they launched their own company with sometimes exactly the same thing than me, or sometimes something very different. But what is great here is we all have the same goal: is to fight the single-use bottle system. And so we can see that there is really in France today there is a strong entrepreneurial energy into finding new solutions for liquids, for dry product, and the deposit system is definitely one of the key success if you want to enter the big mass market. And I'm done.
Thank you very much for your presentation, explaining how your business works and all the tips and tricks of the DRS for business. Well, we have a couple of questions, and I also have many myself as well, but I can keep for after. Can have a private chat, otherwise I'll take all the webinar. What about how can you make DRS profitable in your business? Do you require a subscription fee in the supply chain?
We do charge in €1 because we sell the bottle. We, as Jean Bouteille, we sell to the shop the bottle €1.33 without VAT. And then the shop sell it €2 VAT included. And then we buy it back 0.83 cents without VAT. That means we charge realistically to the shop 50 cents, and we try to have our cost cover with those 50 cents. But it's definitely costing business. It's not a profitable unit; it's a costing unit. So you need to manage it as a costing unit. That means you need to go into most mass market, into automatization, etc., which we do not achieve today because we don't have the volume for. But we try to grow our business, and it's like the example is not the same, but like Google, they let you search for free. That's what you do every day, but you do a lot of other things with Google that make them gain some money. But it's the same. We don't want to be too expensive for the deposit system because it's the key for the zero waste lifestyle. And we try to offer solutions that are profitable for us and find needs from our consumer and the client who will help us to broaden this deposit system.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. There is one here about the pandemic. So pandemic, what additional measures you take regarding the bottles that were back to refilled, and also regarding the impact of the pandemic on the consumer behavior and reuse?
So two questions here. Once the COVID become a story and news, we decided to change our price setting for the bottle, and we said to the shop, we sell you the bottle €1.33 and we buy it back €1.33. That means we accept to not make 50 euros of turnover or profit here to pay for the deposit scheme, because it was our part to help the shop. Say, okay, excuse me, client, today I cannot get your bottle back. Take a new one every time. At the end, you give it to me back, and I give you back the full money you gave me. That means we implemented during the pandemic. So it ended yesterday. So we implemented a real deposit system during the pandemic to help clients propose only new bottle. So you are sure you don't have the risk of reusing a bottle that could have a virus that would spread to the shop. In our case, the IRS, the health authority, told the shop you cannot accept anymore containers from clients. So we were lucky to have this option, and we were the only one to offer this option. And that shows that maybe in the future we will need to help this system more. That means maybe tomorrow or in 1 year, 2 years, we will need to have not €1 loss from the client, but 50 cents, 20 cents, 10 cents, or zero. So that's how we responded to the pandemic. Regarding our business, we didn't implement a new shop during the pandemic because shops were not able to host us, but we saw a very nice increase of business in March, mostly because our clients are today small clients in proximity area, organic shops, etc., which were really liked by consumer during this period. They didn't have to take the car to go to huge supermarket, etc. But after in April and May, definitely we had a decrease. We maybe lost 30% of our turnover, which come from huge supermarket or certain shop that closed the bulk area for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month. But it's been 4 weeks that we see that we are back to the normal, and we had an amazing number of zero waste shops that contacted us during the pandemic, during the confinement. We had maybe like 100 shops that contacted us to say, I want a bulk system for after, because we know that this is a solution that client will need later on. We try to help the shop to have disinfectant and to have tools to help the client, etc. We can do more. This period was very particular because we couldn't forecast anymore. We were only on the day-to-day problems, and we lost the sight of later on. So we need to bring back that to think about how we offer a solution that can live with something like the COVID, and in our case, a system that, yes, it's zero waste lifestyle is important, and a pandemic should not be the excuse to put that away for this moment of time.
Thank you. That's great that you had a great after the pandemic. That was great. More shops willing to adopt the system. Maybe one more regarding what do you think it's more, which is more relevant to regarding the adopt like DRS and reuse? It's more, you found more difficult with shops to have or with consumers, you know?
Because there is generally an investment at the beginning, because if you are in zero waste shops who do only that, it's easy. They can put that by simple gravity. They have their main scale balance system with their printing system. It's fine. If you go to regular shops like proximity or organic shops, etc., they need a label with all the information on it, with a barcode, with the pricing, etc. So they need to buy something. And so the investment can be questioned, and definitely during some difficult period like now, they question 2 or 3 times, is it the investment I need? But we didn't really had previously a problem of turnover. We more had a problem of how do we deliver something in time for our client and to follow the strengths. We are quite lucky for that because there is a huge demand from the consumer. Zero waste product is really a problem of demands. It's not a problem of offer. It's really a problem of offer, sorry, not a problem of demands. And a lot of offers are not here for a demand that doesn't know it's here because the offer is not here. Come with an offer, new, propose it to the client, and you will naturally find a lot of customers in the zero waste option. It's amazing. Every time we come with a new idea, a new option, we find a lot of people say, yeah, it's great, it's exactly what I needed, but nobody could express it because it didn't really exist. But once you offer them, they understand that it's really replying to their needs. So it's really a problem of offering, and companies should really do innovation, invest a lot of money to innovate on this kind of product because there is a future to zero waste lifestyle, which is great.
Yeah, no, indeed, it's we need to scale up to make it more efficient and successful. But yeah, thank you very much. We can go back afterwards in the end on the business insights about DRS. Now we can move for our last speaker, Rob Berman. As I said, he's the director of Recycling Network Benelux, which is a Dutch-based environment NGO. And Rob is an expert in waste management and circular economy. Before working on his first recycling network, he worked in Brussels as a policy officer, circular economy for the Flemish Federation for the Environment NGOs. And he has a degree in aeronautical engineer and philosophy of science, technology, and society. So Rob will give us an approach of the Dutch municipalities on DRS. The floor is yours.
All right, thanks a lot. Let me put on my presentation. All right, here we go. Thank you all for listening to what I have to say. I'm going to start out, first of all, Larissa, thank you for the introduction. So I'm going to not repeat that. I'm going to start out with deposits, looking back on some history in the Netherlands about the discussion that we had on deposits on plastic bottles and cans. But I also want to move it a little bit further towards the end to also reflect a little bit about how deposits are fundamental for reuse systems more generally, so that we can also move a little bit beyond what is possible with plastic bottles and cans and glass bottles, but also look at other types of product systems. So, but I've got a little bit of a provocative title, and that's how municipalities got sick and tired of basically, let's say, 30 years of very slow progress. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a dive into Dutch history with respect to DRS. In the beginning of the 90s, there was a minister called Aldus, and he wanted to have deposits on plastic bottles and cans, but also on cars, on refrigerators, on batteries. And so you could, see that there was already a lot of forward thinking going on, but he couldn't get the deal sealed in his coalition. And so there was quite a big lobby from industry against deposits on plastic bottles and cans. And so what they decided at that moment, and this was like the moment where there were almost no small plastic bottles yet. And they decided that at that moment, because the big plastic bottles already had deposits on them, they decided, well, we're going to restrict it to just 2% market share of small plastic bottles. And if industry gets above it, at that moment, we will implement DRS. Right now, it's more than 50%, and a decision was never made in between. So, sometimes then discussions resurface, and it happened like in the beginning of 2000, early 2000s. Minister Jan Pronk, he's called, and he wanted to introduce deposits on plastic bottles and cans. Again, a big fight back from industry. And again, industry promised to sort of agree with certain targets. And at this moment, the target was reduce plastic bottles and cans in the environment with 80% by 2004. The number of plastic bottles and cans in the environment actually increased. And of course, still DRS was not introduced. Well, history repeats. So third time, 2017, a deal was struck again with industry that they should reduce the number of, at this moment, only plastic bottles in the environment with 70 to 90% and recycle 90% of the small plastic bottles. We know now that industry failed to achieve that target. And an announcement was actually made this time to introduce deposits on small plastic bottles by 1 July 2021. And in that same year, there's going to be a monitoring of the cans, and the exact same targets need to apply for the cans at that moment. So we expect DRS for cans to happen later on. We hope. So why did this happen like this? And this is a quote from Jan Pronk, the second minister that I mentioned. And he basically said, well, I wanted to do it, but, industry proposes an alternative plans and he couldn't get the deal sealed. So industry wanted to have like communication campaigns. They wanted to have like awareness raising and etc. And, he admitted it also on television. He didn't really believe in it at all, but faced in a coalition where he needs to make compromises, it's what was difficult not to agree with it. He also said, he appreciated or he admired the tactics here, and he said he lost those negotiations back then. So in 2017, we started with a deposit alliance in the Netherlands and Belgium, because we saw most people actually wanted deposits on plastic bottles and cans. And so we asked organizations to join our alliance. And we started out with 20 organizations, and within no time, it increased exponentially. Where right now we have 1,075 organizations and municipalities in our alliance. And I'm going to show you a little graph or a little image of the increase in municipalities in our alliance. In the Netherlands right now, I think we have 98% of the municipalities have made an active decision to join our deposit alliance. And I think we ourselves have only asked two to join our alliance. So the other municipalities, they were either asked by local activists or they were asked simply by political parties. And in each municipality, there has been quite a discussion with lots of arguments exchanged on whether they should join the alliance. Less than 10 municipalities in the Netherlands right now are not part of the alliance. And in Flanders, it's, I think, like 62%. So why are Dutch municipalities in the Netherlands so eager to join a deposit alliance? And one of the things that really matters is litter cost. And Dutch municipalities at this moment, they are responsible for the collection of plastic, and they get paid to do that. And in that total per year, that amounts to about 178 million euro. But this is not a benefit, but this is a reimbursement of cost. It's probably enough for them to cover the cost and maybe make a little bit of additional money, but it's not really a net benefit. But if you compare it to the actual litter cost, and in the Netherlands, that's estimated at 250 million euro, of which about 83 to 90 million euro only for plastic bottles and cans. That is a pure cost. They're not getting reimbursed for that at all. This is something that, well, they will have to pay out of their own pockets, which, of course, because they're municipalities, are the pockets of the taxpayers. Get an idea of how much that actually is. You can basically calculate by looking at how much is put on the market and how much does it cost municipalities to clean it up. And if you do that calculation, you realize that for every plastic bottle or can sold in a supermarket, municipalities pay 3 euro cents for only the small share of those plastic bottles and cans that end up in the environment to have those cleaned up. So let's say per bottle or can, it might be 30 euro cents or 40 euro cents. But at the moment of sale, it on average costs like 3 euro cents just to have the small portion of the plastic bottles and cans cleaned up. So if you buy a 6-pack right now in a supermarket, remember next time you go there that the municipality adds 18 euro cents just to have it cleaned up. And compare that, for example, to the producer fee that producers pay in Norway for cans, which is 0.3 euro cent. So 0.3 euro cent to have it like properly collected and recycled, or 3 euro cent to pick it up out of the litter. So why do Dutch municipalities support the ERS? Well, I mentioned the cost argument, of course, but I would also say they have become extremely sick and tired of all the bullshit projects. And the Netherlands, they used to still make 20 million euro available for all sorts of awareness raising projects. On the photo, you see one of them. And many municipalities, they often don't really apply for those projects anymore because they don't believe in it. Thirdly, municipalities, they really have at this moment no authority to take a lot of preventive measures to prevent litter, but they are 100% responsible for the consequences. So people living in the city, they're going to complain to the city council, to the local officials that there's a big mess in the street. But of course, on a national level, no decisions are made to implement the ERS. I'm going to skip this one. It is about Single-Use Plastics Directive and Article 8 of it, and about transferring costs to producers. I think it might be interesting for discussion later on, so I would love to get questions on that. But I want to move from the plastic bottles and cans right now to saying why DRS, deposits, is really important for other product systems too. And I first want to take the example of the Dutch auctions, the Dutch flower auction. In the Netherlands, we have the biggest flower auction in the world. And if you look at all the actual flowers, they are being transported in reusable containers with a deposit. And those reusable containers, they travel across Europe and they travel back again. Reverse logistics works perfectly. But if you look at all the plants are put in these single-use plastic trays. This is very schizophrenic. You have on one hand the flowers being put all in reusable containers and all the plants being put in single-use plastic trays. There's been a Dutch journalistic medium has done some research on this, and they've also found out that the flower auction actually makes money out of this because they sell licenses to plastic producers to be able to deliver those single-use plastic plant trays to the auctions. But it's very clear also from this example that even in like a big international market, for example, the flowers, it's actually possible to have a reuse system, and that reuse system is enabled by a deposit. The deposit enables the container to go around. And I saw in the chat that somebody from Billy Cup is present. Hi, Vanessa. I hope you're happy that I used an image from you. I would like to say that what deposit systems do is that they unlock reuse systems that are not possible without deposits. For example, if I would go to a coffee shop, or if I would go to have water refilled, I can take my own cup with me, which works really well if I'm a very conscious consumer and always do that. But what about everyone else? Wouldn't it be great if when we go somewhere and we can buy a coffee instantly in a reusable container and at some point have it dropped off again? What this does, it means that I don't always necessarily need to be that 100% sustainable consumer, but I can still have access to sustainable consumption systems. If you go somewhere and, for example, to a coffee shop in Belgium, you can buy coffee in a Billy cup, and then you pay the deposit, and you can bring it back later. And you can also leave it at home. You can also reuse it at home. In any case, what happens here is that the deposit enables a type of reuse system that wouldn't be enabled without the deposit. And I can think of more examples. If you'd like to hear more, I would love to share them. But I think this is also one of the really key elements with respect to deposits. So I'm leaving it at that. Looking forward to your questions.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Rob, for the great examples from the Dutch Dutch side, and it's great to see how we can how these key factors such as liter costs can help driving more DRS. And with that, I'd like to know, apart from, if you can give like 3 main arguments for convincing to go for DRS. Okay, one we saw that it was the liter one. Can you what other arguments you can give for as like the benefits of DRS and convincing municipalities to adopt?
It's well, besides the litter cost and the cost of plastic collection, I think it's also the case in France where municipalities make a bit of money because of plastic collection. Whatever they're making with that, it's significantly less than whatever they can save with litter cost. But that's the cost argument. I think what we've noticed is that a lot of public officials are simply frustrated with the fact that they always have to deal with this litter issue over and over again, and they are always being the ones confronted with it. I think one of the main arguments here is that people want it, and it doesn't really matter. We've done several polls among the people, and also big Dutch TV station did a poll among the people. And whether you go to the most left-wing parties or to the most right-wing parties, always a very big majority supports deposit. I mean, even if you go to, let's say, the very conservative parties in the Netherlands, it's still more than 75% of the people will support deposits. If you go to, let's say, the extreme to the very left-wing parties, the Green parties, then you get to like 90%. But it doesn't really matter that much because everyone still agrees with it. So, I mean, what I would say to municipalities, besides the cost, it's actually the most popular environmental measure that you can sort of propose and that you can lobby for.
Yeah, no, I agree, definitely. And we need, we need support for DRS, because as we have discussed, it's like we need a level playing field between single use. We have so many, it's cheap, it's easy, but we need, we need the right incentives.
I would actually say that we need that 11 playing field between single use and reuse and refillables actually not the way to go. It's at this moment it's completely the other way around, but I don't think reusable systems need to compete according to exactly the same standards as single-use products would need to compete. So I would say we need to, for example, if you as a country or implement DRS and you say we do it both for single-use and refillables, of course, then I think additionally you would also need measures which would stimulate refillables. So, for example, you would need to additionally tax beverages in single-use products to make sure that you get this transition towards the refillables.
Yeah, definitely. And the level playing field was saying was mostly for business, I mean, to adapt, because as Gerard was saying, was a bit, it's more expensive to set up all the logistics for DRS, but in the end, in the long term, it's profitable when we have a lot of success, not economic savings, but also for the environment, and for the municipalities and for everyone. I had a couple of questions regarding the people were interested about the flour solution. So can you give the name of the flour solution, and where can find more detail about the flour market in the Netherlands?
Maybe I've also got like 1 or 2 colleagues listening right now, so maybe I can ask them to post links towards articles on that right now in the chat. I know a Dutch journalistic medium called Follow the Money. They did a topic on this. We posted also on our website. And it's honestly, it's absolutely insane. We're talking about basically almost all flowers and plants in the Netherlands, the international trade is traded through one big auction house. And for all the plants that they sell there, they go in plant trays and they use 180 million of those a year in one location in the Netherlands, 180 million single-use plant trays. And the funny thing is, about 30 years ago, a Dutch research organization already did some research on reusable plant trays. They exist. It's not just for the flowers. I mean, we have the buckets for the flowers with a deposit on them, but there also exist reusable plant trays. And it's economically fine. It is environmentally, there's a huge difference. But when the researchers did the research like 25 or 30 years ago, they sort of assumed it would be taken up naturally because the conclusions, they were so evidently good about the reusable plant trays. And now, I mean, decades later, really nothing has happened. Instead of that, the auction house gets a little bit of money for every single-use plastic plant tray they sell, because those producers of those, they have licenses and they actually pay the auction house to put their single-use plastic trays there on the market. So this is a completely twisted system, and the solutions are there. And the deposit here is basically key to make the reusable packaging here go across Europe and back again and be used again and again and again.
Thank you. Yeah, no, definitely. And there's a quite linked question, because it deals with the standardization. So there's a question saying that the trend now to have reusable beer sector for specific bottles and brand specific trails and kind of kill the standard bottles. So do you think it's this specific brand and bottles, it's killing could harm DRS systems?
We need to find a solution for this, and we ourselves are also thinking about doing some research into this, because what we see is that, for example, when it comes to the beer, the big brewers are generally more comfortable right now with refillable systems. And in the Netherlands, we have got quite a good collection system for that. It's often, there's a huge expense of specialty beers. I mean, it's really growing quite a lot. And most of them are in single-use glass bottles. And we have the idea, it's not really research yet, but we have the idea that it's basically often too cumbersome for them at this moment to put something in a reusable bottle, and also make sure that they can put their bottle in the retailers, in the supermarkets, and compete with other brands. But we need to look into this further. To have reusables on a large scale, I would say some level of standardization is really important. So you can't have just different glass bottles all the time. If you want to look at it at the scale of society, and you really want to get all the single-use glass beer bottles out of it, then we need to have only a limited amount of glass refillable bottles so that the system can operate with a certain efficiency.
Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to add that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, in Spain, there are growing amount of small breweries, and as there is no reusable DRS, they have to put their beer in single use. So we're working with them, and a large percentage of them are in favor of DRS because it will help them a lot and decrease the costs, instead of putting their beer and filling in single-use, very nice, valuable beer bottles, which are then crushed and they have to produce again. To have a DRS would greatly reduce the cost. So small local breweries here at least are supporting not a standard bottle, but a DRS.
Yeah. Now, standardization is one also the key discussions going on the revision of the directive on packaging now, because it's something that will definitely drive more reuse and will help it scale up DRS, for instance, and refill. But there's also this marketing industry talking about that the consumers, they are more attracted about the packaging, the shape, the label, and yeah.
Maybe one remark about that, about marketing and packaging. It's I think the city of Ghent did a really awesome job in getting refillable. I mean, Ghent has like an annual festival which lasts for like 10 days. It's a city festival. Millions of people go there. And it's not, I mean, it's an open festival. So it's like where all bars and etc. You can go, you can walk everywhere in the city, and it's a city festival. They have implemented reusable drink containers there 2 years ago. And so this is not like a fixed festival where you can easily control the boundaries of your festival. This is a festival where you have to deal with hundreds of cafes and etc. participating in. And they got it done to get reusable container there. The second year was really interesting. At that moment, marketing started playing a big role, because the first time they had like one cup. But for the second edition, several of the brewers in Belgium, they already started contacting the cafes and said, well, you know, could you please use our type of refillable cup? And then another brewer started approaching their cafes that they're delivering to, and then they said, oh, we have a different type of refillable cup. So at that moment, what you noticed in the second year of the festival, what happened is that you have different types of refillable cups that couldn't be handed in at all locations anymore. It's like if you have like this square, then you have that type of refillable cup, and then you need to first hand it in, and then you go to the second square, and then you buy a new beer there, and then you need to hand in a refillable cup there, because it's a different type of brewer which is connected to the cafes there. And at that moment, you already start seeing that they started out really well, and in the second year, marketing starts playing a bigger role and starts sort of tweaking the system in not a very good way.
Yeah, I can see, and I was there. That I remember that they would not accept my cups in all of the places. Now I know why. Okay. Yeah. Regarding the DRS for single use and reuse. So there's a question here that DRS for single use is a way to limit littering. Yeah, but is this not indirect way of encouraging single-use packaging? Because consumers think plastic and cans are being recycled, and most they are not being.
Yes. Maybe I can reply on this question. What I feel interesting is in Germany, there is a single-use deposit system, but you have much more new products coming with glass deposit system than other countries that don't have this deposit system for single-use product. And when I analyze this situation, it's when you brought a new product, you have the same constraints if you are a single-use product or returnable reuse product, because you need to bring it back to an equipment and get back your deposit. And having the same constraints, it's better to have the glass bottle than the single-use one. When you go in France, when you go in Spain, in Italy, all new sodas, all new juice, all new anything, it's in plastic or it's in cans. It's not in glass bottle. When you go in Germany, Fritz Cola, anything that come, etc., it's in glass bottle. And I think it's because they put the same difficulties, because it's difficult. It's easier to trash. They put the same difficulties to single-use containers than reuse containers. And then, if you have the same constraint, you will use the better for reuse because you have the same constraint. So I think we should everywhere put this system. It will help the reuse system.
Yeah, no, the infrastructure, I think is the same, right? For reuse and single use.
It's kind of the same. You need to put some money into the item you buy, and you need to get back this money. So you need an equipment to do this. You need an organization in the shop, and you need to. And so people are aware that it's their container and it's their action that will help get back the money they put into it. It's not the action of the municipalities and say, okay, I pay my taxes and they do the bad job. It's not my fault. No, it's about responsibilities. And I feel it's same in Belgium right now. A lot of new breweries come with bottles that are not deposit, but they need to get it back and then to destroy them or to etc. But at least they have the constraint to do it. And so once they are big enough, they would surely say, okay, I buy a washing bottle, or I go into a scheme that will allow me to do it. Otherwise, it's very difficult to maintain.
Mm-hmm. Anna or Rob, do you want to jump in on the single-use reuse DRS or?
As I said before in the presentation, I completely agree with Gerard, and what has been said is that we need DRS for both. We can't go only for one, because then it will be impossible to promote refillables. And we have really fought in the legislations that have been approved in Navarra and in Baleares. We need to help DRS for refillables with other instruments, either taxes on single use or binding quotas. But DRS is basic, and then we need other instruments to promote the targets. In the Zero Waste Alliance in Spain, we are aiming for 70% refillables in 2030. So we need the DRS, but we need many more instruments to achieve these high objectives.
Well, whatever you're going to, I mean, there are two ways basically to approach this issue. Either you sort of oblige in some way to have, when we specifically talk about drinks, to have drinks put on the market only in refillables. You can just as authority say this is an obligation. So that's one way. Or secondly, you just oblige DRS and incentivize refillables. I mean, those are basically the two flavors you have. The flavor you cannot have is saying we are going to really boost refillables without something like deposits. It just doesn't exist. So I'm not with this whole argument, for example, saying, well, we've had refillables sometime and they have been decreasing. Yes, you can always have like upward and downward movements, but it doesn't really counter the idea that something like a deposit is fundamental for refillables. It's mostly, it just says that we haven't really addressed properly how to increase the amount of refillables, but it doesn't, but the moment you would sort of say goodbye to deposits on them, at that moment, well, it's bye-bye refillables categorically.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, we need, there's many complementary tools as we have highlighted to make reuse more, I mean, DRS for more reuse and refill, but both are they're complementary, and we also need for single use as well, for everything that cannot be reused or refilled as well. So there is also a question here, interesting question. If one can agree deposits can really make a difference in fighting littering of bottles, is it your view that deposit will solve littering as a whole? So can deposit solve littering issue completely? Is DRS the silver bullet?
Rob, do you want to go ahead? Or I can complement? Okay, no. I mean, if we're talking about cigarette butts, if we put a deposit on cigarette butts, we will help to solve the issue. I think it's a multi solution. We need solutions for the different products. For example, the Single-Use Plastic Directive is already banning some of the products that we find on beaches, like cotton buds, and many other products that we find littered and that have reusable alternatives should be banned. So that's why one way to reduce litter. Now with COVID, we are finding single-use gloves and masks everywhere. We have to do something to address that litter. So we have to find a solution for each product, and DRS will solve a big amount. It can be up to 40%, but it won't solve all litter, no, unfortunately.
I think there are generally two approaches you can take. You can either go for sort of general approaches that try to tackle everything at the same time, and like consumer campaigns, like garbage plans, like stronger enforcement and cameras. And what we see at this moment is that the evidence on the effectiveness of that is very limited. So the thing is, when you try to sort of target everything, you apparently target nothing effectively. The other approach is more product specific, and the product specific approach can be, let's say, deposits for certain products. It can be, let's say, for cigarette butts. I think in the last couple of decades, no tobacco producer has ever tried to educate the users of tobacco products to not throw cigarettes and etc. on the ground. So maybe something can still be done there. In any case, what is fundamental for whatever product approach you take is that you shift responsibility. You shift responsibility away from, for example, municipalities who are cleaning it up, and you shift it towards the producer. Because the producer is not necessarily always 100% at fault here. The fact that litter arises has to do with both the product and with the consumer, but the producer is in the best position to try to steer that behavior by adjusting the type of product or adjusting collection systems. And that's really important here. When we start looking at effective approaches, it is trying to internalize negative externalities in the product system rather than shifting them to society at large. That is, for example, what DRS does, and that is also what needs to be done with other types of products.
Yeah, that's a good point. And instead of pointing whose fault was it, who is the better position to solve it? And yeah, now you said that producers. Indeed, and I think Anna on the masks, I think I heard about a reusable laundering system starting in Italy for the washing of masks. So you see, the crisis also opens some opportunities for this business and reuse. I have a question here for Gerard about the incentive for consumers to bring back the container, because it seems that some consumers, maybe the deposit is not enough, or what do you think about it?
I think it's not only the money, it's the practicity. If you need to travel a lot of kilometers to bring it back because only one shop in your area give it back and it's not where you do the shopping, etc., then it's complicated. It can work only if it's practical. But in France, for example, there is a lot of, so glass is pretty well recycled in France, and it's like more than 80%. And a lot of communities, a lot of cities have their big glass trash in the center of the village, and people take their car and they go and do it. So they succeed to do it for free. And if you put the machine to buy the bottle back, they would be even happier. So it's not a problem of price. It's a problem of practicity and a problem of getting used to it. I would say more than a problem of price. Price can help because people can collect the liter and put it and get some money back. But I don't know. In France, there is also now like Crystalline, who sells water bottles in supermarket. They installed some machine, some Tomra machine into big supermarket, and they collect a huge amount of plastic, and they buy it back 1 cent or 2 cents. And people come back with their car full of plastic bottles that should not be like squeezed, because otherwise the machine doesn't get it well. So they are all properly. They fill a cart and they fill it like for 10 minutes. They fill like 100 bottles and they get back €2. I'm not sure they do that for money. They do that because they know that consuming this water in plastic bottle is not good, and they offer a solution practical because they buy this plastic bottle in this shop and they come back to this shop. And Crystalline is doing that because they have difficulties to buy the PET to make recycled PET. Recycled PET is hard to find, and clean recycled PET is even harder. So here they put a machine, they say we collect only transparent PET, the other like Badwa, etc. is refused. And so we have we are in direct contact with the source, and we manage it. And they succeed to bring some proper recycled PET in there, because they have like everyone now. Coca-Cola say I will put 100% recycled PET, and said PepsiCo said the same, and say, oh, we have a problem, we don't have enough recycled PET. It's not possible. So they all try to increase their way of collecting that, and that's why I think it's pretty efficient. And there are comments, there are questions saying it's not recycled. It's not recycled when it's not sorted, but when you use those kind of equipment, it's sorted, and you pay for this equipment, so you will definitely recycle it because it has more value and it is already sorted. So it's really a problem of practicity. You need to understand what the consumer wants, and not just say either he's stupid or either I will give him some money. That doesn't work. It's not what he wants.
Mm-hmm. And so you have noticed that the return rate, maybe your business, it increased as your business also increased, like as you had more stores with accepting your.
Alors, we do collect more bottles, but because we have this €1 difference, that means the consumer lose €1 when he give it back. If he never gave it back, he doesn't get any money back. So, I mean, he lose more, but let's say we push him to reuse it more. And we know that he didn't, it's also something specific in our business. We sell the bottle €2. That means the consumer bought the bottle, and it's much harder to trash something that you bought than trashing something you didn't buy. If you buy a bottle of olive oil, you consume your olive oil, the bottle is empty. The bottle has no value because you bought the olive oil. You didn't buy the bottle. And so you don't have any problem to trash the bottle. If you buy a bottle, like you are in somewhere, you buy a bottle specific, you have problem to trash it because it's not the same way of purchasing. And so we use this kind of psychological. So we know that not a lot of bottles go into the trash. We have difficulties to track the number of bottles that are getting back. Saying that, we used to do a full deposit system in our very first stores. Like the 5 first stores, they had full deposit system. We tried, but it was easier to do it with the system we have now. That means we buy it back only €1 instead of 2. And in those 5 stores, we have a lot of people who kept it because they felt it's practical and they don't mind lose this €1 each and every time because they buy €1 less the product in our case. And so we have much more return from these shops. So it's also a question of habits. But in our system, it's difficult to have the traceability like in standard beer system because we're increasing a lot. We are expanding a lot. And also, people buy 1 bottle of vinegar, they will maybe consume this bottle of vinegar in 6 months, and then they will reuse it 5 times, 6 times, and maybe they will give it back. So it's 3 years later that I will get it back.
Yeah, no, I see it quite as a matter also of practicity. I don't know. It's a difficult word to pronounce in English. For instance, this container that I have here, I always buy this one because I know it accepts, many stores accept this container back. So it's better off scaling up. And that's why we need policy interventions, measures to help this, this transition. I know we are quite out of time, but I think we can have one really last question because it's a really polemic one. Regarding the biodegradable, it always comes at some point, biodegradable bottles. So do you think this is a threat to deposit return schemes when they sell biodegradable as a solution? I open the floor.
Well,
What was the question, Larissa, exactly?
If there's innovation about biodegradable bottles in the market, is it a threat to the deposit return schemes?
The thing is, with biodegradable bottles, there's a lot of debate still. What kind of biodegradability, where they come from. So I don't think there is a straightforward question. I think biodegradable plastic is not the solution, no way. I think we have to go towards, first of all, refillables, and then do more studies and really understand the grade of biodegradability and where they're coming from. So I wouldn't give just, at least from our point of view, we wouldn't give a straight yes or no to biodegradable bottles, definitely not.
I think, biodegradability, depending on the, could be interesting for some applications. I'm just thinking right now, I mean, if we, for example, still want to use polyester in the future for textile, then either we start collecting or start preventing that those plastic microfibers end up in the environment, or we make sure that in the end, when they do end up there, that they all biodegrade. When it comes to product systems such as plastic bottles, please, I do hope that we're not counting on systems that when the plastic bottles end up in the environment, that in some time they will biodegrade. From an energy perspective, it doesn't make a lot of sense. What we're trying to do from, let's say, circular economy perspective is save resources. And biodegradability can be something, if it works, if it really works in the environment. That is often a big question. It can be something that helps to tackle the impact of plastic in the environment. But from a resource conservation point of view, when you have a material, you don't want to let it degrade, but you want to reuse it. On the top of the hierarchy then is, refilling it, reusing it. And then below that, then there's the material reuse, the recycling. And that still makes, from a climate perspective, way more sense than making something new every single time out of completely new resources and then have them biodegrade or basically fall apart.
Great answer. After this, I think we're done. But yeah, indeed, the biodegradability, you have to check the conditions, and there are many whys and many ifs around biodegradability, but definitely I think if the right factors are in place for effective reuse systems and refilling systems, then biodegradable bottles or plastic bottles, single use, should not be the choice. Well, we have many questions, but unfortunately, I think I cannot accept anymore. We run out of time. I'd like to thank you all for the speakers for the excellent contribution. Thank you very much. I'm sure now we're much more knowledge on DRS. And thank you as well for all the participants for the active participation and the questions and comments. I see the chat box was really intense, could almost not follow it. And yeah, feel free to reach out to us if any questions, and sign up to our newsletter to keep posted about the webinars and our activities. We are actually, during the quarantine, we decided to give free access to the webinars recordings until the 31st of August. So you can find everything, the Academy section in our website. Yeah, the recording as well will be available on the Academy page in the coming days. And as well, if you got hooked by DRS, I'm sure you did, in our website, we have case studies of deposit return schemes being applied in other sectors besides beverage. So we have case studies on the deposit scheme for cups, the Freeburg. We have on food containers, the Recircle, and for e-commerce packaging, the Repack. They're also based on DRS. We also have the DRS manifesto in our website as well, where we can check 15 benefits of DRS and our main demand for policy change. Yeah, so I'd like to thank you all again, and we look forward for the next conversation. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.